Welcome back for another episode of Sunday SoulDay, fueling your mind, body, and soul with soulful conversations and life changing insights. Is financial security really possible for everyone or only for a few? If you've ever struggled with money management, leadership, or staying consistent on the path to success, this conversation will give you both practical insights and inspiration. I sit down with John Cordero, a financial service leader with nearly 30 years of experience who's helped 25,000 families build financial security while mentoring over 400 aspiring leaders. John shares his powerful journey from building his own business to creating high-performing teams while staying committed to financial literacy in underrepresented communities. Let's welcome him to the show. Welcome to Sunday SoulDay, John.
Thank you. Really excited to be here and was really looking forward to this. And a big reason why for me was just as I seen your page, the stories you post, it's hard not to be inspired by it. So very easy to say for me, it's an honor to be invited.
No, it's an honor. I mean, it's so funny. We have a mutual connection, my brother, but I didn't even know that you were connected. I actually saw your content first. And then I saw that you were connected and I was like, oh my gosh, small world. And I reached out to you because love what you're doing. What you have built is just incredible. And I can't wait for the audience to just learn a little bit more and also just hear about all the amazing things that you're doing. So, first and foremost, like you've spent almost 30 years in the financial service industry, helping 25,000 families build financial security, which is unbelievable in itself. Like, what drew you to this work, and what has been some of maybe the biggest highs and even some of the lows along the way? Because you have seen the industry change so much.
Quite a bit. I've been asked that question many times. And I tell people, we have a story that it's so real that there's no reason to make anything up because this is what we experienced and went through. And so my parents, when they immigrated here from the Philippines, my mom came in first. And a year later, three boys with my dad, we came here. And the reason I share that first is because we never really took it for granted that we are here. But in 1983, that was challenged. And I don't usually share this, but I wanted to share this for maybe people in your audience, is that we were in line to be deported because they said that our papers coming here were not correct. We were fortunate that we hired a very prominent Filipino attorney and was able to explain to court the paperwork is great. And then the judge said, you know what? They have the right to stay. Everything's right. This was a mistake. Welcome to the US. Now you can be a US citizen. From that day, there's defining moments in our life. That one defining moment for me was I will never take it for granted being here. And I wanted to make the most of our opportunity. But growing up, my parents never talked about money. They didn't talk about saving, investing, real estate. What they did talk about was go to school, don't cut school, get good grades, which I was average on the grades part. So really, my mom was very worried about me and said when I was 18, like, what are you going to do? And I totally remember this because my dad, he's in the life insurance business. And when I was 10 years old, he would drag me into his office to serve coffee to his agents. And I hated it because I would I would miss the cartoons that I'd be watching, at that time. But I'd go there and I'd see what he would do. So I got my license at 18 because he said, "You're my junior. You need to go pass this exam." And I remember that exam specifically because I remember that if you ever see the word, it was a crash course. And Demisha, the crash course said, if you ever see the word grace on the test, the answer is automatically C. So I just knew. And so anytime I see grace, oh, the answer is C. So I passed the exam. And that was really my first introduction into the financial services because my dad said, now you got a license. Now this is going to date me. I remember he brought out something called the white pages. And people can Google that. And the white pages simply was people that I didn't know. And he said, go get them. I said, get who? He said, get them. I said, I don't even know them. 400 plus, 500 plus phone calls of trying to sell insurance. It wasn't going to work. I said, I don't like this. This is not for me. And so that was my first introduction from my dad into the financial services world. So I really wasn't for it. What changed the course was my boss, when I was in healthcare, said, "Hey, you should put money into a 401k." And I said, "So how does it work?" She couldn't explain it. So then, Demisha, I'm like, "How do you tell me to put some money into this product and you can't explain how it works?" So I started researching. I said, maybe I should get licensed in the securities industry so I can learn this stuff for me. And I ended up getting fired from that job, which was the best thing that could have happened. One of the lessons from that, another defining moment was when one door closes, another one's open. Don't try to reopen the door from behind because it was
Yeah.
closed to begin with. And then I got my foot in the door in this securities industry in this firm who I've been now with 30 years.
Unbelievable. That is unbelievable. I love your journey and the fact that you used a moment of not having the knowledge to then catapult you into something just off of curiosity. And I think that is a really great takeaway, like in addition to all that you've shared with just you wanting to make something of yourself and be here and not take it for granted. But I love just your curiosity,
Mhm.
to even like dig a little bit further. And I think like that is like such a great way to get into, anything, but then also figure out like how can you use that, that curiosity. And so like I will tell you, as an HR, professional, there's a lot of HR leaders who cannot explain half the benefits that we have, including the 401k. And so, or how certain things work. And so and it blows my mind because, information that should be easy for us to understand and use, it's just not. So I love that you took that moment and used that. But what's so interesting is I was looking at some of the statistics around just like small businesses and building businesses, and I'm amazed at your staying power in this, because statistically we know that small businesses usually fail within the first year, and then that continues to keep dropping from there. So, like, what do you think it was that allowed you to have that staying power?
Partly it was, and I grew up in a household where my brothers they are very smart, my older brothers, right? And so we'd had this running joke, Demisha, about when we would watch Jeopardy as kids, I'd get the subjects that I know I would get, which is like I would get the subjects of pets or dogs, the simple stuff, and they'd get history and so when I was saying earlier, my mom was really worried about me. Was she was like, "What are you gonna do? You're not." Without saying so, you're not very smart like your brothers. And so part of it was really just showing my parents that they could be proud of me, how important it was for me to earn that from them. That yes, I have a label of John Cordero Jr., which is my dad, but the fear of not, we're here in the U.S., we were given an opportunity, and I'm not maximizing what my true potential should be. I'm not becoming that best version of me. So knowing that every single year, I would walk into rooms and one, I'm usually the poorest in the room. So there's a bunch of more people making more money than me. Number two, I was probably the least educated in the room because most of my peers, they've had a minimum of college degrees, they've have, but also master's degrees. PhDs, right? And then I started joking, I have a PhD too. I'm a Filipino high school degree, right? That's my guy. That's my PhD. So, but sitting in the room, I also knew if I'm in this room,
Yeah.
I will make sure I belong. And the way I'll belong is I'm not going to be smarter than them, but I will outwork them. And I realize it's the endurance, the ability to stay longer while people are quitting along the way. It just moves me closer to where I want to go. So the people that were in that room early on, most of them are gone. And I just outlasted. I just took more no's, more rejections, more failures than they did. So in my head, you can have what we call IQ. So you're pretty smart. I like FQ, which is your failure quotient. How much can I fail? How much can I handle? And that's what I pushed towards. That's what really kept me going in the game. And now I feel like we're just starting because of where technology is taking us, where this world is, where the economy is today, just the recent changes in the last 10 days in this country.
Unbelievable.
We need more good leaders that believe and can stand up to here's what's good, here's what people need, here's the financial literacy that they need. And we want to be one of the teams that can deliver that type of knowledge and information to people, which they rightfully own, and they should
Yeah.
have it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You almost delivered a master class right there just in talking about FQ. Like failure is such a gift, but I think a
Mhm.
lot of people what happens because they don't have that tolerance or that endurance or that discipline, they tend to fall off, and they're not used to that pain. But when you have already, you come in as the underdog, is what I like to call us, like, because I'm to an underdog. Like when I entered tech, a lot of people, like you said, they had degrees, they had all the accolades and all the, I like to say, the external things that, people approved of for them to be in the room. But what I did is, even though I didn't look like I belonged, I knew I belonged because God put me there.
Absolutely. And he doesn't make mistakes.
It
We
is.
tell our teams that, and we tell our people, our agents, that everybody is born with the DNA to win because God puts that in us. We are supposed to win. We learn how to lose ourselves and we learn how to quit on ourselves. That's not taught. That's not a godlike feeling. That's not a godlike trait. He has taught us. We are already born with that DNA, like you are and like you've been. So I think that when people understand, when you finally say, I'm in business, it's when you realize no one's calling you back, no one's talking to you. You got to pay. How am I going to pay my bills next month? Where's the next check coming from? Now you're now you're really in business.
Yes. Yes. When you got that hustle game on. And that's the difference between, I would say, discipline and motivation.
Mhm.
Like, I want to hear your take on that because I've heard you talk about like how, important discipline is, how much it matters, even more than motivation. And that standards is what carries us through those tough seasons. I could not agree more. Can you share how this principle has kind of shaped your success and maybe how you've even applied it like with your team?
I it's an interesting thought when I we all want to be motivated. And the reality is, and I'm not any different from anyone else, I will scroll on Instagram and I'll look and say, what's going to motivate me today? What's the one thing that I will see? Then for me, as an example, going to the gym. I'm motivated to the gym. Where's that saying that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak?
Yeah.
So here we are. In my opinion, the hardest part of the journey to the gym is to get in your car and drive to the gym. Once you walk into the gym, more than likely, you're probably going to work out. And I've always tell people that, it you can have the lousiest workout, but it's better than no workout than being home. So the discipline in my head is this. I look at myself as a business athlete. And part of my workday is coming in and saying, regardless of how I feel, my results don't care how I felt that day. My feelings are irrelevant. What's relevant is here are my tasks that I have to get done. Did I get that done? It's very similar to the weights. Whether it's you're lifting 100 pounds or 200 pounds, the weight is exactly the same. It doesn't care how you feel. It just says, are you going to lift me today or not? And we'll see you tomorrow. So for me, discipline is one of the reasons why I continue to stay here. If we're governed by our feelings, for me, if I'm governed by my feelings, most of the time I don't want to work. I feel lazy too. Like most people, I'd love to go and sit there and just watch TV and enjoy the day and do the things that a person would love to be able to just enjoy. But what that discipline is, I'm in my back of my head, my dad has passed on. It was in 2016, he's passed. And I think about this. He has seen all of our promotions, my wife and I, but going forward, he'll never see another promotion again. Now my mom is still here. I want her to see every promotion going forward because there comes a time where she's not going to see any more promotions of her son. So it's important. It's not the title that we want to reach. It's the fact that I'm also a son and that I want my mom to be proud of me. Just like my kids, they do things They want us to be proud. So for me, that discipline one of the best definitions is doing something you hate like you love it. That's to me what discipline really comes down to. You hate to do it, but you do it like you love it, and then results will come through.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. As a former athlete, it's like you don't do what you want to do, you do what you have to do in
Mhm.
order to perform, in order to show up. And you show up no matter what, no matter what's happening in the world. And I think that's the challenge. What I've seen with teams, and we'll talk about that in a second, is like, you get a group of people that are very committed, very disciplined, and then you get another set of people that are not. They are, they're driven by all of their external factors. It's like the sun was shining in my eye too much, and then the car was, slowed down, and that is like my coffee wasn't right. It's like they have all the excuses in the world,
Yes,
instead of just doing it. And I think when you commit, because that to me, discipline is commitment, and
correct.
it's a commitment to yourself
Yes. Uh,
first.
I love telling people, no matter how good the excuse is, it's an excuse. No matter how valid, it's an
That is
excuse.
good. I'm still love that.
And the reason why today I'm wearing the shirt all in is 2.5 years ago, and talk about commitment, talk about, discipline. All in was something that I thought about, that if I'm going to restart this business again, if I ever want to restart the business, what's the first thing that I want to do? Well, I want to go all in. And the words of all in my head is this: there's different levels of all in. It could be small caps, like I'm kind of all in, right? Because there's an exit just in case it doesn't work. Or you're in bold, it's a hashtag, it's in red and it's in caps. I'm all in. It doesn't mean that you're 100% every day, but you get in there and say, well, this is what I'm supposed to do today. And maybe I only have 30 minutes instead of the few hours I'm supposed to go in the gym. Then let me go all in for that 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the mindset. And that's the mindset that I come to. And I'm no different. Can I have excuses too? Yes.
If
But I
you,
don't like to give them, and I also don't like to take them,
yeah.
because we're so, our kids watch exactly what we do. They pay attention to everything. One quick story for you. My son, we took us 17 years, Demisha, to get to a certain level in our company. And that's after people quit, one after the other. You would rebuild it. They say they're committed to you. Then they leave. And then you build another team. And then that team goes away. We finally hit this position. And my son goes, Dad, how long did it take you to get that CEO level? And I was very embarrassed. And I said, well, it took us about 17 years. And then he looked at me and he says, well, at least you never quit.
Oof.
I asked him, I said, what would you like me to buy you? You want me to buy anything you want? I'll buy anything you want at this point, because I really appreciated those words of him giving me that validation, that no matter how long it took. Because our kids wear our emotions on their shoulders. They see it. They see when you're in pain. They see when you're frustrated. They see when things are happening. They may not say you, but later on they'll tell you, I remember that time. I
Yeah.
remember how you felt. So
Mm.
these are little factors that I know that have a impact on people like you and you starting the business you're in today, and being an athlete, or like I could talk about earlier, being a business athlete in my head. That's the identity that I chose to step in. And if I step into something, then I'm going to be all in.
Yeah. Ooh, God, I love that. I love the all in. And you're so right about the kids. If I can just touch on that and piggyback on it, it's like your kids will figure out who you are
Mhm.
regardless of what you say because they're looking at what you do. And so for me, I just try to show up in every role that I play fully, so and do I get it perfect every time? No, I'm human, but you had mentioned like, do I have 100% every day? I actually think you do, but your 100 might be 30%. But as long as you show up,
Mhm.
that is 100%. I'm going to give all my 30 today. I'm going to give all my 40 or my 50, whatever. But that's how you show up, and you show up no matter what, and like you said, maybe it's 30 minutes in the gym, 2 hours in the gym, but you're showing up. Love that.
Yes.
So good. Like talking about teams, like you currently lead a massive team, 400 licensed agents, right? I mean, it's amazing. What have you learned about building high performing teams and sustaining kind of a winning culture in such a competitive industry? 'Cause it's such a competitive industry.
It really is. So And 400 sounds great, but to be quite frank with you, we're so far behind. I have this massive goal and the big driving force in that goal is because there are cultures like our cultures that just aren't getting the financial education. So I want to take the 400 and how do we 20x it, right? Get it to 4,000, 5,000 agents. I mean, the goal actually is 5,000 by 2029. And the thing about goals, by the way, and I'll go into the teams, is I've realized every goal we've ever set, we never hit it on time. But through God's timing, He's testing. Do you really want that goal? So He's going to put all these things in front of me. By the time we hit it, it's like, okay, then I knew you really wanted it. But it's never come on time. The good news about goals that I've learned is you can always move the goal. So we didn't do it this year, we'll do it next year. We didn't do it that year, we can do it again, right? And so leading 400 licensed agents, that's about 400 different personalities. Uh,
Literally.
and yes. And so now a big part of leadership for me is do you have the ability to trust your frontline leaders? Do you have the ability to trust the system that you built? The layers of the leadership that you will have. So in other words, the people that you've developed, giving them the freedom to grow and do what you're doing based on how they were grown and built within your network and how you built them in your system. The team is a reflection of the leaders. So as the performance comes and the expectations, then it's because I can trust that they're going to take what they've learned and they'll apply it. Then there's a rank and file. But the one leadership principle, and I was just talking to somebody on the way here, and it really applies, is the bottom to me is you have to treat people good, no matter what level. Because I'm at a certain high level in our firm, right? We're considered we're an executive out of 80,000 licensed agents in our firm. There's maybe about six or 700 executives. So it's fairly high up there, right? But a person that joins me, they have to know it's me. Forget my title for a second. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to help you, which means I don't forget where we started and how we built that. And treating people good means because you do something good for them today and you treat them well, you don't know, but maybe they're a late bloomer. A year from now, 2 years from now, their business explodes, but it's because you believed in them. Like I believed in them. We poured that in them that, hey, you can do this through your trials, right? I said to the team this past week, we have a weekly team meeting, and I said to them, we all pray for something, whatever it may be, whatever blessing it is, whatever things that you want in your life. The prayers are being answered. It's just being sent to you in the form of hard work, and you choose to ignore that. That's what's happening. You just ignored it. So in our leadership, what we don't ignore is one, yes, how people feel, but number two, there's that firmness. We're in business to help you grow. This is not a social services movement where here we're going to give you a bunch of free things and let's hope that you no, there's no hope in this plan. The leadership, the way we lead is one by culture, two by environment, three by example. The best thing I can do for you is show you this is how it works. And it doesn't matter what level I'm at, what income level we reach. What's important is what did you see me do today? I don't live on what happened 10 years ago. I live on what happened today. That's how I lead.
That is so, you gave me chills when you said that. It's so true. And I love that because you care about the person. And I think that's where people have to start. They have to genuinely actually care about the person,
That's right.
the whole person and see them through their struggles, and really guide them. But I think a lot of times, because people don't start with that, they don't start with the person, and they don't have those kind of values to back that.
Mhm.
They're not leading by example. They're not creating an environment for that. They don't have a culture for success, like all of those things matter, especially when you're, like you said, managing 400 personalities, it all matters, so
It
like
does.
you think about like the research, it's like, I think it's like, 15%, it shows only 15% of employees worldwide feel truly engaged in their work. Those numbers are mind blowing to me,
They are.
but I've seen it, you know? So it's like when you, I really do believe companies that match what their core values are and their culture and the leaders embody those things, it really makes for a better organization, as you're building, because people can build upon those building blocks.
It does. And I tell people this, and you're going to also notice this what you're building today. We're on a freeway, right? Demisha, we're on a freeway, and some people exit. They'll exit earlier than you, and
Absolutely.
you're still going, right? It doesn't mean that for you, your journey's ended. Well, that part of the journey with them has taken you up to that point. And so for me, rather than be bitter, so in that example, I take a licensed leader that decides to go another direction, quits, opens up another company, maybe a competitor of mine. I could choose to be angry with that, or I could choose to say, I appreciate that person brought me up this far. This is their exit. And at some point, they may get back on another on-ramp and I'll see them down the road. And that's happened many times where someone left, found out that the grass was not as green as they thought it was over there. They should have been watering the grass here. And they come back and say, you know what, I'd like to come back in because we've had a great relationship. It was a great exit. Let's get you back in. So you're right that I believe that in corporate today, and more so even in this younger generation, they chase the dollar, they chase the money. If the next company gives me X amount of stock options versus it, let me jump over here. And where the loyalty lies is, and you'll find it right away, is when someone's not getting paid. How long will they stay with you? So in our business, we call it a volunteer army. That they're licensed, they're independent, but at any given point in time, they can walk away and they can leave. And so now, what type of leadership are we going to provide? Because they're not hourly, they're not salaried, and that's when you'll find out quickly how to step up. One thing that in the beginning you asked me about challenges. I had about 80 licenses at one point in the mid 2000s, and they all quit. And I was left my wife and I. And I'll never forget, it was raining on a Thursday night, and my wife says, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm going to rebuild this thing." But I also knew that that was God's way of telling me, you need to be a better person. You need to be a better leader. And if you can become better, my personal thought, this is my belief. He said, if you can be better, I'm going to present you with a better team because people that leave make room for the real people to come in.
Say it again. Yes.
And that's what happened to my business. All those people left, and then 400 plus come through, and these are the businesses I have. Doesn't mean that we don't have any challenges. We still have challenges like everybody else. But I'm either a thermometer or I'm a thermostat.
Yes.
And I decide to go ahead and be the other, which is I'm gonna not gonna let the outside influences decide what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna rely on tried and true, the character, the beliefs, the things that I know that work and build this business.
Yes. I love that you touched on that. And I think it is a really important takeaway for the audience because it's so easy for us to get kind of our hands into something, someone, and then we
Mhm.
hold on too long, and I've seen so many organizations do it, where they should have released people, I call it release with love,
Yeah.
like you release people with love as opposed to letting go in anger, but when you release them, you're giving them the freedom to come back if they
Right.
choose to. But if they don't, that's okay too. And you're grateful for what you've been able to do up to that point with them, even if it didn't work out. And I've seen so many organizations, especially in tech, like where they'll keep people way too long,
Yes.
and then like someone will get ready to go and then they'll start throwing money at them. And I'm like, that person has already shown you that they're ready to go,
Mhm.
and so it's not just about the money,
Absolutely.
so I love that you touched on that. You've been really, really vocal, and I cannot piggyback on this enough, but very vocal about just the lack of financial literacy among underrepresented communities. What do you see as the most urgent financial education needs today? Like, how can we begin to close those gaps?
I think that one, you know, an easy way to start introducing it is maybe more community driven type of education where I've seen it, but maybe not as much. A local library, a community center, just holding a general budget finance, understanding basic financial concepts. You got the workforce come in, like someone that I just met here this past week, young, making 100,000 plus a year, and said, "What am I supposed to do with this? How do the taxes work? How do the what am I going to do with what's my deductions? How do I, those basic questions?" Because the companies don't give them that. They don't give them that type of breakdown or explanation. So one would be, yes, more community-driven type of events. I think that would really help. Also, collaborations. That's something that you and I can talk about. You have a platform, and a platform that if people are listening to, put it out there. Hey, there's this person here. If you need this basic type of financial literacy or advice, this is a person that here's a podcast you should listen to. More collaborations with people, not for the money, not so I can, but really, if it goes out there and if one person hears it and says, now I understand how life insurance works. Now I understand why I should put money in the 401k. And yes, it's sexy to hear, here's crypto, I made this. I get it. But what's important to know also is here. This is the fundamentals and basics. Here's your income. Take a portion of it right away. Take that remaining, pay your bills. The concept of, can you pay yourself first? I love to ask this question. Well, who's the most deserving of your paycheck? I hope you say you. Don't say anybody else. And once you pay you, because no one's paying you first, now you can disperse where everything's going to be. My mom was the one that said, can you just save 10 cents of every dollar? I'm like, man, that's easy, mom. Yeah, try saving that. You make 100,000, you save 10 grand. All of a sudden you're like, well, no, that 10,000 looks more exciting to spend it over here. So I think that also just community-driven events, that's one. More collaborations online, that's another. And then just grassroots. How can we get individual people? There's always one in a family. There's one person in the family that can make a difference for the entire family. He or she is the one that takes the lead and says, I will learn this financial information and I'll make sure going forward the next generation at least has this. Uh, I posted something the other day, and it's a joke, but it's a true statement. Most people will not remember who their great great grandfather is because they didn't leave them any money, and so since they didn't leave them any money, they don't know who they are. I mean, that's the truth of the matter is, right? Unless if they left you $10 million, their portrait would be at your house. Oh, Grandpa Joe left us this. So I feel that when it comes to financial literacy, it's everyone's responsibility, but certain people have the ability and the platform to be able to speak on it. And whether it's in athletes, and we touched upon this before with how athletes, uh, the TV contracts 20 years ago don't mirror today. I have a friend, wide receiver, still looking to get picked up one more time here this season. Hasn't happened yet. He got thrown $2 million at the age of 21. That money was gone. And the first thing he told me was, John, I'm an inner city kid. Nobody told me. You think that the NFL was telling people this? Yes, but they're hired by the NFL, these financial planners, but their coaching or how they took and directed didn't help him. He was one of the ones. So sure, it's both sides, but I do firmly believe that with the right education, the right platforms, the right mediums, then this information should get out there. It doesn't have to be all the fancy stuff. Can you just understand basic finance, your retirement, putting money into, a savings checking account? How does that really work? What the fees are, how taxes work, those kind of things. And I believe that with the right type of push and education, then I think our country would be in a better place just with that basic information.
I also feel like what needs to happen is we need to redo how we learn. Like
True.
starting like there's no reason I should be learning certain things in school when I don't have any financial literacy. Like we should be learning that in school. So then when by the time you decide to go to college and then you decide to take on these loans and student loans and all this stuff, like you understand interest rates and all. I mean, it's like people are hit with stuff. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of information out there now. There's a lot of books, but even then it's confusing. And then
Yes.
it's like, okay, I have this information, but how does it apply to me? Like I'm an
So
average worker,
true.
maybe I'm making under $100,000, I mean, the average American makes, half of that, so it's like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to survive? And then when your salary doesn't increase, but all of, the expenses increase, like, then what does that look like? So I think like we are in such a tough spot because a lot of people didn't have that education. And so
Yes.
now they're racing, and trying to learn at rapid pace. But then now we have things like AI and so much, like,
Mhm.
there's just such a separation of wealth that's
Correct.
happening right now. And so, I'm like, I love what you said about the community and, the grassroots stuff. And I also think too is like getting it down at the levels where the kids start learning it.
Absolutely. It starts at home, right? It starts at home. And the fastest way my kids learned about money was they'd go to the store and they had some money and save for them. And they'd say, "Oh, can we buy this?" I'm like, "Sure." And we got to the line. I'm like, "Okay, it costs $20. I'm going to take it out from your account." And they said, "Well, why are you taking it from me?" I said, "You want it. I don't want it. You want to buy it." All of a sudden, they didn't want it anymore.
Exactly.
So they found out the value of money right away. And then so when they figured that out and they saw that, that starts from home, right? Doesn't matter to me what income level someone should be at, but the way that our kids, at least the way I was brought up, was one, money doesn't define who you are. Two, uh, if you have money and you can make it grow, then you have to learn how to make it grow and you learn how to give it away. You learn how to go ahead and be generous with it. And I'm not just saying just, well, here's you want to go ahead and donate to different charities and so forth. That's great. But the generous portion of money is the knowledge. Here's how you equate it. Here's how you take it. It's from the Bible. We don't want to just give a man the fish. We want to teach them how to do it. And if you teach them how to do it, then lives will be changed and you start to pay it forward. And so it starts with what you just said, our own educational system, combined with at home, we're going to raise a different generation of people. And that's how you affect change.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, and the financial industry is just evolving so quickly, especially with technology and AI. Like, how do you see AI kind of reshaping financial literacy, wealth building, and the way that families even engage with financial services?
I do believe that AI has a uh, it can have a huge impact on the financial industry for one reason is it can automate how to contact potential clients. It can automate how to contact and get particular prospects. This morning, I sat down with a client. The challenge with AI is when they're asking you questions right now and they want to hear a live voice based on the examples and not searching through hundreds of pages of Google and let me give you an answer. That's where a one-on-one in a meeting with someone that wants to affect their finances, I don't see where AI is going to go into there. It doesn't mean you can't get an answer to prepare for a meeting, but when you're live one-on-one and you have income you want to put away or you want to save, you want answers of today and not a theory of what I think should be. But the big thing that I believe that we do have to embrace when it comes to AI, especially you and I, is just the ability to use the technology that's behind it. If it's going to help us to be more efficient when we're in front of a client, but doing all the legwork, all the planning up to the actual meeting itself. Some of the best interviews still are face to face. Yes, the medium's there where you can see it's recorded, you can see, but some of the most memorable videos of interviews that we see were done somewhere, right? And when I bring that up because as AI continues to develop, there's going to be a lot more people saying, I just want to see people face to face. I still want to go ahead and have that touch. I still want to have that person that's going to be in front of me that I know that is going to be there. So embracing it, but also knowing we don't forget the human factor of what we do here in our business. And that's where the financial industry in our firm, we're investing millions of dollars into it, but you can't replace 80,000 agents with an
No,
AI. It just doesn't work.
no. And I think that with any industry, like technology has, improved almost every industry, right? And it's like thinking of ways like I'm seeing AI as like, how can I use it to improve what I'm doing, enhance what I'm doing, speed up things that maybe took a little bit longer, but not necessarily replace me. So how can I, because, that's the thing. I don't think there's certain things like financial, I would never want to talk to an AI, like I would want to talk to a person so I
Correct.
can make sure, and also just that human to human contact. Like I think as much as AI is very intelligent and can do a lot of, people are using it to invest and to trade and do all these things, but when you're trying to understand what works for you, and how you're planning things out, like it's so important, to keep that human to human touch. So I love that you're still using it and working with it, but not, replacing people with it, which we've seen tech doing left and right. They're replacing people with AI. And I think it's a huge mistake. I really do.
It is. And I mean, we've already discussed it, and you and I agreed that there's only one Demisha. So unfortunately, you can't be replaced. There's only one of you, and there's no replacing a Demisha. So thanks to AI, but that's not going to happen here.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Like something I ask everyone, and I'm so curious with your answer is with all of your experience, like what's one financial book or podcast or even a leader that's been influential in your thinking? Like tell me one that stands out for you.
There's two of them.
Ooh, okay.
As far as a book, and it's still hands down one of the best books. It doesn't tell you what to do, but it's a mindset. It's Think and Grow Rich. Uh, I do ask my team and most of the people, if I speak somewhere, for example, I'll ask, how many of you read Think and Grow Rich? And I would say about 70, 80% have read it. And then I'll ask, keep your hands up if you're rich. Then all the hands go down. And I'll say, well, go ahead and read it again because it didn't work for you. So that's one, Think and Grow Rich. Second, for two instrumental leaders in my life. One, he has a podcast, Straight Line Thinkers. He's my mentor. That's his name is Rich Thali. And not only in the business, we've known each other for over 25 years. Uh, but Rich has always also been a father figure for me. What makes this podcast unique, especially in my industry, is he interviews the leaders and they go through not only the pitfalls, and if someone listened to the very first podcast for today, you'll see how it carried through COVID. You'll see how it carried through and how things had to adjust, and or when the economy was down. And so what I've always liked about his podcast was, one, it's, yes, it's very real. Two, it's usable in the industry. So that's one. And then the other one is just a very good friend of mine as well, over 20 years. His name is Ed Milet. And Ed Milet, uh, I mean, I think recently voted as one of the top three inspirationals in the US. He's a personal friend of mine. And the thing about, he wrote a book called The Power of One, or One More. And so what makes him unique is I've known him growing up, and that guy had no social media skills whatsoever when he first started, right? But as much success as he's gained, as much notoriety, as many athletes and actors that he's coached, still at my left. So the ability to stay authentic and genuine of who you are, not forgetting your roots, that's what he's been able to do, even though he's very highly sought after. So those are the two that I would recommend to people to look into. Great value for both. Rich is more for my industry, but Ed's very appealing overall. And then I would say, I think with what you're doing, it's not going to be a surprise in the next 24 months that you're in the top. It's just because of how you're approaching it, your ability to approach, talk, the variety of guests that you're having, how active you are on your Instagram and what you're doing there. You're giving value. And I've always felt, if it was said, AP Giannini said, still the highest paying business or income you can ever generate is serving people. So if we serve people, we can make all the money in the world and never feel guilty about it. But it's serving people first. And that's what your podcast is doing. That's what we try to do in the financial industry. So there's a reason why we're talking today.
Thank you so much for saying that. Oh my gosh, thank you. That really means a lot to me, honestly. And I could not agree more. I think like I've always been a person of service, and I've seen it growing up, and it's a part of my DNA. And I think it should be a part of everyone's DNA as humans, where I believe we're here for four things, to love and to be loved, to understand ourselves better so we can tap into our gifts, and to then use those by being of service.
Gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
Can tell you now, I'm going to take that. So
Oh, please, please. I love
take
it.
it and tag it and tag
Please,
you.
please. I appreciate you.
Because
Please
I
do it.
love that. I really
Yeah,
do. So
yeah.
I think those are huge. They're simple, but it's not easy.
No, but it's so important. And you think about, and I'm sure you see it with your leaders, like the leaders who know themselves, who learn themselves, and grow. You talked about two really great people, Rich and Ed. It's like they have grown over time, that learning themselves deeper so then they can show up for others. That I believe is a part of the process in order to serve more people. You
Mhm.
have to learn yourself deeper, and so yes, I please take it, tag me. I appreciate you.
Okay,
And
I'm gonna send you a text to give you to make sure I got it in line to make sure it'll
okay,
go out real quick.
okay, I'm gonna send it to you. I'll send it to you after. But no, thank you for this just incredible conversation. I appreciate you saying yes. I know you don't do a lot of podcasts, so I feel honored to do this work, and I'm very grateful. So thank you so much.
No, I really appreciate being here. And like I said again, I'm sure you won't be the first. And when we revisit here in the next few years and say, do you remember that thing that we talked about? Look at where
I'm
we're
gonna
at
I'm gonna
today.
grab that clip.
Wow, she's in the top five now. What's going on here? I think that there's a reason why we sat down. I get a chance to cheer you on and watch the growth, and that's the most exciting part. You cheer on the people that you know you want to win, and they had the capability to win because they stayed in the game, and that's what you're going to end up doing.
Thank you so much. And everyone, as always, have an amazing Sunday and do us a favor. I know I learned a ton here. Put in the comments something that you learned or your favorite part about this conversation with John.